I want to talk about this topic called conflict styles, and if you will, I'm going to give you a definition. And you know, this is one of those topics that helps a lot of people as they work through, if you will, increasing the odds for success. But I define conflict as a difference between two people trying to share emotional, physical, or perceptual space. Perceptual. I added that word in there a few years ago. Because the truth is that you can be in an argument with someone over a perception you have that might not be grounded in anything that's in reality. I had a case a few years ago where a man was trying to get in his car. Police saw him. They asked him for identification. He was so insulted. He resisted them in such a way that caused more problems. But it was at nighttime, and there were mercury vapor lamps out there, and his cobalt blue car looked teal green. And so he thought he was at the right car because he perceived himself to be at the right car. Obviously, it wasn't right, but it was a perception, a conflict. When I ask you to think about conflict styles, I'm going to talk about 6 of them. The first one, which is the most important one and the most common, and that is when people are competitors. And you can always tell when somebody's a competitor because competitors love to win arguments. They're really artful at debating. They love to bring out the facts and figures to prove, if you will, that they're right. But you can always tell you're arguing with a computer because computers tend to listen to collect information to prove you're wrong. On the other side of the spectrum are avoiders, and these are people that really don't want to argue. They deny that there's a conflict. When you ask them, how are you doing? Are you angry? They say, oh, no, I'm not angry. They'll postpone dealing with arguments, try to, put it to another time, another day, another place. They sidestep, they withdraw, and if you will, I've had some clients that were so afraid of arguing that they would find themselves getting sick. Their stomach would turn to knots. But that's the second conflict style. The third is accommodators. Now you're going to think about competitors who want to win and avoiders who don't want to argue. Well, an accommodator is a person that wants to make you happy. And their theme is, if you will, to make sacrifices about themselves so that they benefit the lives of others. They have a need to please. They have a need to be helpful. They tend to put others on a pedestal, put their needs lower, the others at a much higher level of importance. They're always at risk for being taken advantage of. And if you will, this last thing is it's an idea that I came up with a few years ago, which is they get lost in the lives of others. They get so involved in the lives of others, they lose themselves. Now, the fourth conflict style, kind of easy, if you will, when you think about competitors who want to win. And now we're at agitators. Agitators are people that just want to destroy you. It's not about winning. I don't want to just win the argument. I want to ruin your reputation. So they like to push your buttons, and they do that by getting a rise out of you. They typically have a pattern in their style that brings out the worst in other people or those situations or those topics in their method of communications. Sometimes we say they push others' buttons. You might have heard that expression. They love to annoy, they love to pick, they're always on the instigating side of it. And for whatever it's worth, I've worked with a lot of agitators, and my perception is they really like conflict. The fifth style is called compromiser. This is healthy. Compromisers, they like to barter, give and take. They like to trade, if you will. They seek common ground. See, that's the idea that I'm going to compromise, I'm going to barter, I'm going to find something through give and take that we can agree upon. They're skilled at creating win-win situations because this is an asset, not a liability. Learning to compromise is definitely a strength. And if you will, they're very observant of facts and feelings. You've heard me say this before. Work relationships are 90% facts, 10% feelings. Love relationships are 90% feelings and 10% facts. So people that are compromisers are trying to balance the feelings, which is the emotional component, with the facts, which is, of course, the idea of the work component. And then finally, the last one I want you to think about is collaborators. Collaborators, labor, co-labor. They're the kind of folks that wants to find a mutual solution that's beneficial to both. They want to talk about it, they want to work it out. They try to be cooperative, they try to be positive. Often I find that people that are collaborators are skilled negotiators. That is, they're asking a lot of questions, they're collecting a lot of information, but the idea is that they enjoy teamwork. Now those last two, compromise and collaborator, let me help you to clarify those, if you will. And that is, the collaborator finds something that's common. There's no trading. So here's an example. Let's just say that they have a friend they want to go out to lunch with, and that friend likes Asian food, and I like Italian food. Well, if you're a compromiser, you say, I tell you what, If you come with me to eat Italian food, I'll pay for the bill. See how I bartered that out? But when you collaborate, you like Asian, I like Italian, but we both like sushi. Common ground, no trading. The idea that for every person in your life, you're always at risk to some degree for the experience of anger. And for some people, my risk is only high when I discuss this topic, which is brought through this situation. So the idea that my risk for conflict with a certain person and a certain topic and a certain situation are all high. Now we have to think about conflict style. And I want to point this out to you, and this is what's important. What I find in working with people that have problems in finding solutions to those obstacles in life, typically that is because for that person, for that topic, in that given situation, you get locked into one style. To get locked into being an avoider because I'm scared to talk about that topic, so therefore I'm going to avoid it. Or they get locked in when that topic's discussed, I'm going to win because I want to collect information to prove you wrong. So the idea that when we get locked into a pattern that becomes a habit, then those relationships don't get any better because the habit is that this problem doesn't get solved because we both take up a conflict style that's sort of embedded into our personalities and it's part of our lifestyle. Remember, lifestyle? Life is what God gave you. Style is how you lead it. Yeah, you can have a lifestyle that's very locked into a conflict pattern, a conflict style, where when that person I'm always a competitor when this issue arises. Or with that person I'm always an avoider when this issue. So I want you to think about this idea of the 6 conflict styles. Try to use it. Try to shift your energy to collaborator or compromiser. If you're an avoider, try not to do that. Doesn't work. An accommodator, quit trying to make other people happy. Competitor, quit listening to collect information. And of course, agitator, which is the worst one, the idea that I can benefit myself by destroying somebody's reputation or their goodwill. Hey, I hope you've learned something from that. Again, I'm Dr. Pilet. Thanks a million. Yay.